Now we're introducing 10 new moves. These have a nod to yoga, and the focus is a little bit different. So with these movements, we're going to move longer, 60 seconds of work, 10-second transition, and we want to think more about having some fluidity in how we're moving. So don't worry so much about it looking like a yoga move, but allow your body more to find length and strength through these movements. First one we'll begin with is a plie squat. So toes and knees are turned out to the corners. We're going to lower down, sink into the hips, keep the chest nice and tall, and bring those hands up towards the ceiling. So feel like this should feel a good, full range body movement. Glutes are engaged as we're coming up, a little bit of stretch with those inner thighs. And then we want to really make sure anytime we move into yoga movements that the breath becomes part of the movement. So we're exhaling as we reach those arms up towards the ceiling. Once again, don't worry about the tempo. So if you're not moving the same speed as I am or Bobby or Carson, that's fine. This should be a workout that you can own and feel good about and move in a way that stays authentic to your body. So 60 seconds every time we're inhaling, allowing that breath to travel a little bit deeper. Big inhalations, exhales, we sweep down towards the ground, feeling that full range of motion through the back and spine. Here we go, last one. Nice job. So now we've transitioned into a plank position. So remember everything that we were learning about a plank, shoulder blades back and down. From this plank position, we're going to drive our hips up towards the ceiling, keeping that back nice and long, pressing our heels down towards the floor. And then moving back again, back into that same plank position, making sure that there's no drop in the core, back stays nice and flat. So we've got 60 seconds in each of these movements, so there's no rush. We want to take our time, make sure that once again, we're exhaling as we move into the position. So from that plank position, resetting those shoulders, tightening the glutes, pulling the belly in, and then exhale, lengthening and flattening out the back. Carson is going to show us a modification. Halfway through, if you feel like that plank is hard for you to hold, move to a kneeling plank. So we can still come back to that down dog, that nice flat back, and then the knees come down to the mat. Extending through the spine, nice and flat, exhaling as we come back and down. Checking in every time we come back to the plank. Once we get to a 60-second mark, that's a long time. We want to make sure that there's not any drop in that low back. And there's your last one. Excellent job. So we're transitioning into a balancing deadlift. So we're going to stand sideways with our feet shoulder width apart, put all of our weight into our right leg, lift the left leg so that that glute engages, and then start to hinge forward with a soft knee. Carson is going to give us a modified version of keeping those arms by our side, coming back up, resetting in a tall posture every time. Bobby is going to give us an elevated arm position, extending out, reaching those fingers one direction and the toes the opposite. So we're working once again on that balance and stability. We want to make sure every time we're coming back up to the top that we are resetting and making sure that those abs are engaged before we start that movement again. Frequently, when people do this movement, they tend to drop forward first. We want to make sure those glutes are engaged so the low back is supported and really give that core a challenge of having to find balance on a single lever. We feeling the challenge? Yes. Nice. So we're going to continue to do this for 60 seconds on this side before we transition to the opposite side. So take your time. Once again, just remember with this kind of movement, there is no rush. Finishing up in 3, 2, and 1. So we're going to continue that balancing deadlift on the opposite leg. So set ourselves up the same way, finding that stability this time in the left foot, extending the right leg behind, turning that glute on, and then mindfully moving into that hinge position. So now that we've got one side, perhaps you're going to find out that you've got your other side that's maybe a little bit stronger. Maybe you move better on this side, or maybe it's just the opposite. It's not an opportunity for you to decide which side wins, but just to be aware of maybe some imbalances. So through that, we can kind of keep our mind engaged, think about how we can make those minor corrections to help have more stability in each side as we go. A wobble, a shake, falling over, it's all part of learning. So don't be afraid if that's where you're at. We work through that, and then you're gonna also see that progress you make. 60 seconds is a long time, so you're gonna be able to see if we're able to make some of those improvements our first time through, and maybe our second or third time through, that'll happen as well. How are we feeling with that core?
Good.
Yeah? Balance, stability, core, definitely have to keep our mind engaged on this. And once again, check back in with that breathing. Let's make sure that we're exhaling as we're coming back up. Nicely done. So now we're transitioning into triangle abs. For this one, we're gonna set up in a stance a little bit wider than shoulder width, turn our foot out at a 45-degree angle, and place the same hand on the inside of the thigh. Reach the opposite arm up towards the ceiling, and then slide that hand right along that leg line. And exhale as we come back up to the top, reaching those fingertips towards the ceiling. So once again, this is a movement we wanna take nice and slow. That exhalation starts at the bottom of the movement. I want you to think about your body being right in between two walls. So we want to keep our hips tucked under, and we want to keep our chest in nice and tight so that everything fits right between those two walls. That nice extension all the way up on the top is part of the movement. So we want to make sure that we think about that movement continuing all the way up to the top. Once again, we want that exhalation to happen on the top of the movement. Core muscles pull in nice and tightly around the spine. Breathing is nice and consistent. This one you may find you don't have a lot of flexibility with it. That's okay too. If you're just making it to that knee, that's your range of motion. That's great. Just make sure that we're keeping the same integrity of movement as we go. Last one. Nice job. Triangle abs on the opposite side. Let's go ahead and turn the opposite foot out, shoulders back and down, place the corresponding hand on the inside of the thigh, opposite hand up towards the ceiling. Just slide that hand down, inside of the leg, exhale as we reach back up top. So once again, think about coming down in a nice controlled breathing manner, and then exhaling as we're reaching up, feeling that extension on the top. So literally having those fingers reach for the ceiling, exhale, bring it all the way up. Making sure both of those feet feel grounded, moving fluidly, but also moving at your own tempo. So it's okay that we're all moving a little bit differently here. What we want to make sure that we're doing is not losing track of how we should be breathing. Linking those two movements together. Are we feeling the core?
Yep.
Nice. Feeling the stretch as well, lengthening out through those side bodies. That breathing nice and consistent. Last one right here. Nice job. Now we're moving into a crescent lunge. We're gonna go ahead and step one foot back behind, making sure we're not on a tightrope. So we wanna think about our feet shoulder width apart. We're gonna inhale, bring those arms up nice and tall, and then exhale, allow the body to hinge slightly forward and swing those arms back. Once again, inhale, reaching up, and then exhale, bringing back and down. So we're gonna find a tempo that makes sense for you and also a range of motion. So if you find yourself going halfway through, feeling like that leg is about to give out, you're gonna wanna modify that a little bit and allow that body to come up just a little bit taller, lengthening that leg out, and then sinking back and down. Once again, we want to keep in mind that that chest stays forward, shoulders want to be back and down, inhaling on the way up, and allowing that breath to dictate our speed of how we're moving. How are we feeling, guys?
Feeling good.
Nice. Starting to feel that burn in the legs?
Yes.
Nice. Keep going, flowing through this. Don't worry about the fact that this is only one leg, and you know another one is going to come right after this. Just stay in the moment. Keep that breathing nice and fluid. Last one right there, guys. Nicely done. So now we're ready to start that crescent lunge on the opposite side. So let's put that opposite foot back, once again keeping in mind that we want to have that shoulder width position. Inhale as we sweep those arms up towards the ceiling, and exhale as we fold slightly forward and swing those arms back. following that nice deep breathing. Remember, that's part of what's going to keep us calm and energized. We want to make sure we're never cutting off that oxygen flow. That oxygen is energy for the muscles, keeps us invigorated, and allows us to continue. Nice big inhale up. Remember your options here. If you need to modify a little bit, come up to a taller position, standing a little bit higher, finding your way. Commit to finish all the way through those 60 seconds. Do you guys wish it was longer than 60 seconds?
I wish it was 2 minutes.
Keep working all the way through. Nice flow, you guys. Keep checking in with that breath, sweeping up, feeling that full range of motion in the shoulders. Last one right there. There we go. So now we're transitioning to boat pose. We're going to take a seat on the mat, tuck our hands in right next to our hips. Our fingers are pointing towards our hips. Zip our abs in nice and tight. And we're going to pick those feet up off the floor, keeping our chest open, shoulders back and down. We're going to try to hold this for about 10 seconds and then give ourselves that transition, letting those feet come back and down, resetting. So every time we reset and come back up, we want to make sure that we're lifting nice and tall in the torso. We're breathing, not holding our breath. Exhale and let those toes come back down. Reset, open the chest, bring it back up. Hold that position up top. Nice, keeping that breathing continuous, lowering back and down. Bobby's going to show us one other version as she's here with those arms extended. So this is going to give us a little bit more advanced position. We take away that back support, holding onto that position, transitioning back and down. We want to make sure if we're adding those arms that our back feels supported. If we feel like there's any strain at all in the back, we definitely want to bring those hands back and down and add the support that we need. Continue to work on this, maybe getting past a 10-second hold when you're ready. Last one right there. That's it. That completes all 10 of the exercises for this series. We're going to give ourselves a 1-minute recovery and then begin again at the top. So now we've transitioned into this supine position, just laying down on our back. They're going to take their arms and extend them straight out from their shoulders and pick their feet up. They're going to inhale as they drop their knees towards one side, and then exhale as they bring their knees back to the center. They're going to fluidly move from side to side in this exercise. What's important with this is that not that your knees touch the ground, but that you find a range of motion that you can support. So you only let those knees go as far as you can control the lift back to center. So given everything that we've done so far, this one may feel a little bit better than all the other exercises we've done. What do you say? Is that true? Okay. So we're going to keep going, keeping that fluid movement, keeping the breathing going through the movement, making sure that we're not relying too much on our arms. So as those arms are anchored into the floor, we want to still think that our ab muscles are what are the primary movers of bringing those knees back into the center. Nice fluid movement back and forth. Great job on the exhalation, guys. Nice. So this will finish up our last exercise. Once we finish that, which is right now, we're going to come back from the very top position and we're going to repeat the whole series of exercises 1 to 2 more times.